fact, the entire 3 years that I worked at MrBeast, I completely stepped away from all of my social media platforms. So I completely stepped away from what took me years to build to show my loyalty and respect for the company that I was working at. MrBeast team posted 2 messages that I exchanged with former colleagues, completely out of context in order to create a false narrative and try to take the focus away from an extremely serious issue.
What started as just another internet lawsuit has now turned into one of the most talked about controversies surrounding MrBeast in a long time. New screenshots, leaked messages, and behind-the-scenes claims keep surfacing, and every update is making the situation even more intense. Lorraine Mavromatis is now pushing back hard against the company's response, releasing more context and receipts that have people across social media completely divided. Some viewers believe the messages weaken her claims, while others think they actually support everything she's been saying from the start. And now, the internet is debating way bigger issues like workplace pressure, maternity leave, and company culture inside one of the biggest creator businesses online. Usually, whenever a lawsuit connected to MrBeast starts making headlines, the pattern stays pretty predictable. A few details leak out, social media goes wild for a couple days, and then everything suddenly goes silent again. Most of the time, the MrBeast team keeps quiet and avoids making any public statements at all. But this time, things played out way differently. The company actually pushed back against some of Lorraine's claims and argued that parts of her story were inaccurate. That alone surprised people, but what really caught everyone off guard was the fact they released evidence to back up their side too. Usually, these situations stay quiet behind the scenes, so seeing public receipts suddenly drop had social media going crazy. Now Lorraine has responded again, and that's what we're looking at here, because this whole situation keeps getting more chaotic by the day. Every new update seems to spark another wave of debate online, and people are paying way closer attention now than before. Also, if you're new here and want to stay updated on all the latest developments, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And while you're already down there, leave a like on the video too, because it really helps push this story out to more people. Either way, I appreciate you watching. Like I mentioned earlier, most lawsuits connected to MrBeast usually fade out of the spotlight pretty quickly, but this one just keeps getting louder and way more public every single week. Lorraine made some pretty shocking allegations, and a few of them had the internet talking non-stop. One of the biggest claims involved a conversation she says happened with Warren about why Jimmy allegedly avoided meeting with her for certain projects. According to Lorraine, Warren allegedly told her that Jimmy gets really awkward around attractive women. She even claimed he said, "Let's just say that when you're around and he goes to the restroom, he's not actually using the restroom." That quote exploded online almost instantly because people were trying to figure out what was really being implied there. Social media started breaking the whole thing apart, and the reactions got intense fast. Lorraine had also spoken publicly on Instagram when she first moved ahead with the lawsuit, but things became noticeably quieter after MrBeast's legal team pushed back with their response. Their rebuttal mainly focused on claims tied to her maternity leave and work schedule. Lorraine had alleged that she was still taking meetings while recovering from medical issues and that she felt pressured to continue working during what was supposed to be protected maternity leave.
MrBeast team posted 2 messages that I exchanged with former colleagues, completely out of context in order to create a false narrative and try to take the focus away from an extremely serious issue. That's not transparency, that's strategy. So today, I'm here to show you the entire story and all the things that their team has deliberately decided to hide from you.
But MrBeast's side answered with evidence they claim tells a different story. According to their response, Lorraine herself allegedly requested to keep working on set, including one example involving a trip to Brazil that they specifically pointed out. That detail immediately got people debating online because it directly challenged some of the accusations being made. Now the situation has taken another turn again because Lorraine responded back, and according to her, she also has receipts and evidence to support her side of the story. At this point, both sides are publicly pushing back, and the whole case just keeps getting messier.
So the first text message they shared is this one right here from May 14th, 2025, where they're alleging that I wanted and asked to be on a Brazil shoot. What they're failing to show you though is that several days prior, the lead producer for the main channel shoot reached out and asked me to help on the Brazil shoot. And mind you, this was not even my department. This was a shoot for the YouTube channel, for the main YouTube channel.
So just to keep everybody caught up, this was the message MrBeast's team previously revealed as part of their response. They used it to push back against Lorraine's claims and argue that the situation may not have happened exactly the way it was first described online. In the message, Lorraine reportedly says, "There are so many moving parts to this, especially being in less than 48 hours. She then continued by saying, "Despite being on maternity leave, I feel like it would be extremely valuable to go with you to make sure everything works out smoothly. and to have a Brazilian citizen on the ground with you for any last-minute things that may arise, especially with this team. How would the logistics work, though? Would there be a seat available on the jet for me? At first glance, MrBeast's side was basically using that message to argue that Lorraine was volunteering herself to continue working during maternity leave. But now Lorraine is sharing earlier messages from before that conversation, and according to her, the added context changes things quite a bit. Based on the screenshots she posted, there was a missed call on May 10th, followed by another phone call afterward. Then there were messages saying, "Hola, hope you're all well. Can we chat about a video?" Followed by, "Hey guys, Neymar told me yes. Let's make happen this time, please." Those messages make it look like conversations about another video shoot were already happening behind the scenes, and that people were actively reaching out to her first. Because of that, some people online are now questioning the timeline being presented. Critics are saying it doesn't completely line up with the idea that Lorraine was simply inserting herself into the project without being contacted beforehand. The debate around the case just keeps getting more heated every time new screenshots drop.
I was instantly asked and put on several high-level tasks, such as helping the producers get their Brazilian visas, hopping on meetings with Neymar's team in order to get our creative approved, helping them secure the Santos soccer stadium, which had not been secured yet, less than a week prior to shooting. They even put me on a casting group chat in order for me to help cast the Brazilian contestant. So I was asked to be on several high-level tasks, and I knew that if the shoot failed, ultimately the blame would fall on me.
So now, even more follow-up messages are coming out, and these screenshots seem to pick up around May 12th, right after those earlier phone calls reportedly happened. Every new batch of messages is adding more layers to the situation, and people online are analyzing every detail closely. One message says, "I'm not feeling so positive about the visas." Lorraine responds back saying, "Same here. Sucks that Brazil is asking for visas now." She also mentioned that she contacted someone she knew at the Brazilian consulate, but still had not heard anything back yet. Then she added, "Anything we can do? I have never put the SOS out to so many people." That exchange made it seem like there was real urgency behind trying to organize the trip quickly. Now, I'm not going to act like Google Translate is always 100% accurate, but I did run another screenshot through it just to get a better idea of what the conversation was saying, and this is basically what came up. The message reportedly says, "Good morning, Lorraine. How are you? If you could help me with this conversation flow later, because we need to be quick to respond tomorrow." Then it continues with, "Is everything all right? I was a little out of the loop because I'm on maternity leave. I just went through recovery after delivery." After that, the response says, "Serious congratulations. May you have great health and bring much joy to your family." But almost immediately after that, the conversation reportedly shifts straight back into work-related discussion again, which is one of the main reasons people online are debating the situation so heavily right now. The message continues, "Regarding the visa, I saw it here, and it's quite easy through the link you sent. I'll call Carl and explain. It should be the same as in Canada, and issued immediately it seems. Thank you very much." So based on these screenshots, it's pretty clear that everyone involved knew Lorraine had recently gone through a serious medical recovery period. At the same time though, she still appeared to be actively involved in conversations tied to the production and helping coordinate things behind the scenes. That's a huge reason why people are debating what was really happening during this time. The situation gets even more complicated because both sides are now using the exact same messages to argue two completely different narratives. MrBeast's team is basically saying the screenshots show Lorraine willingly stayed involved with projects during maternity leave and continued offering support on her own initiative. Meanwhile, Lorraine's side seems to be arguing that the company was still actively reaching out to her, calling her, and discussing production matters, while fully aware she had just gone through recovery after delivery. That difference completely changes how people interpret these messages, and it's exactly why the lawsuit keeps blowing up online every time new screenshots get released. At this point, social media is split hard, with people arguing over whether the messages show voluntary involvement or pressure behind the scenes. People are looking at the exact same receipts and somehow walking away with completely opposite conclusions. Some viewers think the messages show dedication and voluntary involvement, while others believe the work conversations should never have kept going in the first place, considering the situation. The internet is seriously split down the middle on this one. Another reason this case feels way more intense is because of how public everything has become compared to other MrBeast controversies. Usually, stories like this disappear pretty fast, and legal teams handle things quietly behind closed doors. But this time, screenshots, call logs, and private conversations just keep surfacing non-stop, and every new post seems to trigger another massive argument all over social media. Now, to be fair, Lorraine was still choosing to stay involved with the work, but according to her side, There were reasons behind that decision. Like we talked about in the earlier video, she allegedly worried about what could happen to her position if she started turning projects down during such an important period. That concern is a major part of the argument her side is making in this lawsuit. There were also more messages connected to planning the Brazil shoot. In one conversation, someone reportedly mentioned that they still had not secured the stadium yet, showing just how rushed and hectic some of these production discussions may have been behind the scenes. The message reportedly says they wanted to film at Vila Belmiro Stadium, but because of that, they would also need Jimmy there as well. The plans allegedly included doing a tour of the stadium trophy room and possibly filming extra content with Neymar too if he was available. That detail caught a lot of attention because it showed how serious and active the production discussions already were behind the scenes. What really stands out is that Lorraine was still included in these conversations and group messages while all of this was happening. So even though she was technically on maternity leave, the screenshots suggest she remained involved in production planning and coordination. That's exactly why the debate online keeps getting more intense, because people completely disagree on what those messages actually prove.
This was the culture that Jimmy created, right? As Jimmy himself said, nothing on this freaking planet is allowed to come between you and getting those prios.
Another thing Lorraine pointed to was the overall work culture and the kind of pressure employees allegedly felt while working on these productions. She shared one example involving a message about priorities and expectations inside the company, and a lot of people online immediately started debating it. According to the message, when someone gets assigned tasks, they're supposed to create what's called a prio list. The example in the message says, if Ali tells you your priorities are getting a Lamborghini under 200,000, wrapping it in anime characters, and building a custom steering wheel, then absolutely nothing is supposed to get in the way of completing those tasks. It then reportedly goes even further, saying, if another team asks for help and you spend 2 days assisting them instead of finishing your Lamborghini assignment, then falling behind is your fault. That example quickly grabbed attention because critics say it reflects an intense work-first mindset, while others argue it simply shows strong expectations and fast-paced production management. Then there's another line that jokes about how even if the studio was dealing with a huge emergency and you stopped working to handle it, not finishing the Lamborghini task would somehow still be your fault too. The message even says, jokes, ha ha ha. But right after that, it reportedly switches back to seriously saying that nothing should come before your assigned priorities. Lorraine appears to be using messages like this to explain the kind of workplace environment she says employees were dealing with behind the scenes. According to her argument, that culture is part of why she felt pressure to keep working and stay involved, even during a time when she may have needed to fully step away from work responsibilities after recovery.
At that point, they put those priorities on me, and I had no other choice. I just wanted to have proof in writing that I was willing to help in case anything went wrong, so I couldn't be blamed for it. So I wrote the producer, I texted him that I was willing to help, go to Brazil to help them, and from that point, it was their responsibility to protect me and protect my maternity leave, saying, Lorraine, we got this. You stay, you do not need to come to Brazil, we can handle this. But the immediate response that I got is that my presence there would be invaluable, followed by if I had a passport and if I could leave the very next day.
Lorraine had also mentioned earlier that she experienced complications during recovery after delivery and reportedly had to stay at the hospital longer than expected. But according to the messages she later shared, work-related conversations were still continuing not long after all of that happened, which is one reason this situation keeps drawing so much attention online. In one exchange, someone asked her, "Are you available to hop on a call tomorrow or Thursday with the light company?" Lorraine replied, "Yes, tomorrow afternoon should work." Then another message reportedly says, "Hey girl, I texted with Emily from Atlas. She spoke with John Charles to get specs." So once again, the discussions appeared to stay focused on active production planning and coordination behind the scenes. She also shared another message where someone reportedly asked, "Did Mary find out anything about painting the lockers?"
The moment I saw that response, I knew for a fact that I didn't have any other choice rather going to Brazil. And I want to make something very clear. This Brazil shoot was not the first time that they asked me to work while on maternity leave. A week after coming back from the hospital, I was already receiving text messages, calls, being put on tasks. That was an ongoing thing. This is just one of the examples. In fact, the pressure and amount of work that I was being put on was so much that HR had to change what was supposed to be my original maternity leave start date, March 31st. They changed it to April 29th. So they had to adjust that because of all the days that I continued to work after giving birth.
Lorraine replied, "No worries. I'll send you the final render tomorrow morning once John sends it over. We're good to paint." And from there, the work discussions just kept continuing like normal. A lot of people online pointed to exchanges like this as more evidence showing how involved she still appeared to be in production coordination behind the scenes. Then there's another conversation dated May 20th, which also seems to fall during her maternity leave period. In that exchange, someone asks, "Hey Lorraine, are you back from Brazil yet?" She replies, "Yes, I'm back. Also just bumped Mateo. Sorry it's taking a while." The person then follows up by saying, "Okay, thank you so much. Do you have some time to connect on the Liverpool requests?" This next part is what really grabbed people's attention online. Lorraine reportedly responds by directly reminding them, "I'm still currently on maternity leave. Took only 48 hours away to help main channel since I was the only..." And then the message cuts off there. What's standing out to many viewers is that this reportedly happened more than once. Lorraine repeatedly mentioned being on maternity leave or recovering after delivery. Yet according to the screenshots, work conversations still continued afterward, almost like business as usual. That's a major reason why people keep debating whether this was simply voluntary involvement or a sign of pressure behind the scenes. Now, we still don't fully know who every single message was directed to, but critics online are saying it's surprising that nobody in those conversations appeared alarmed that she was still handling production-related tasks during that period. At this stage, the biggest debate surrounding the lawsuit seems less focused on whether Lorraine technically participated in work and more about the environment surrounding those decisions. Nobody is really denying that she answered messages, joined calls, or helped coordinate projects behind the scenes. The real argument people keep going back and forth over is whether she genuinely felt comfortable stepping away without worrying about possible consequences at work. That's exactly why these screenshots are getting so much attention online right now. Some viewers believe the messages show someone going above and beyond because they genuinely cared about the projects and wanted everything to succeed. Others see the non-stop work conversations during maternity leave as a sign of a workplace culture where employees allegedly felt pressure to always stay available no matter what was happening in their personal lives. And the more screenshots and receipts that get posted, the more divided the internet becomes. One side argues the evidence weakens parts of Lorraine's claims because she continued replying to messages and offering help voluntarily. Meanwhile, the other side believes the repeated work discussions and ongoing requests support her argument that there was pressure to remain involved even during recovery and maternity leave. The other side argues that the exact same evidence actually supports Lorraine's claims because co-workers and management allegedly kept involving her in production discussions even after she repeatedly mentioned being on maternity leave. That's why this situation keeps snowballing online instead of fading away like most creator lawsuits usually do. Every new screenshot seems to pull even more people into the debate. Another thing raising a lot of eyebrows is the question of where HR was during all of this. Situations like this can turn into serious workplace and legal problems if they aren't handled carefully. And many viewers online are wondering why nobody allegedly stepped in earlier once it became obvious she was still participating in work-related conversations during maternity leave. Lorraine also mentioned in her original statement that she was reportedly one of the very few women, possibly even the only woman, working at that executive level within the company. Because of that, some people online are now speculating that workplace issues tied to maternity leave, recovery, and professional boundaries may not have received enough attention in that environment. At the same time, others argue there still isn't enough public information to fully understand how these decisions were handled internally, which is another reason the conversation around this lawsuit remains so divided. Of course, there's still a lot happening behind the scenes that the public doesn't fully know yet, but that part of the story has definitely added another layer to the controversy. It's also sparked even more heated discussion online about company culture, workplace expectations, and how management allegedly handled situations involving employees during major life events.
So my question is, why aren't they showing you this? Why aren't they showing the full story, the full threads? Because they know they should never have asked me in the first place. That is why it is a protected leave. This is the second text message they're sharing where they're alleging that I was not in a meeting during labor, that I was actually told to postpone the meeting. But here's the thing. Well, it was super sweet for this colleague of mine to send me that text message once he found out that I was in labor. He wasn't my boss. That wasn't the meeting that I had to attend while in labor at the hospital. That was a completely different meeting. That was a one-on-one just to discuss a specific project that we both were working on.
One of the sets for our photo shoot, maybe.
That'll be perfect.
To Lorraine's credit, a lot of people online are saying it's difficult to ignore evidence like the video that reportedly shows her taking a work-related call while dealing with a serious medical situation. That's the kind of detail that instantly grabs attention because it makes the entire controversy feel far more personal and intense. At the same time, to be fair, there's currently no publicly released message showing an outright threat or anything extreme like, if you don't take this call right now, you're losing your job. There's no clear smoking gun text floating around online at this point. But supporters of Lorraine's claims argue that workplace pressure does not always happen through direct threats. Instead, they believe situations like this can be much more subtle, where someone may feel worried about possible consequences even if nobody says them openly. That's a major part of why the debate has become so heated online. And based on the screenshots and conversations released so far, Lorraine repeatedly reminded people that she was either on maternity leave or actively recovering from a medical situation. Critics say that detail changes how a lot of these work conversations are being interpreted, especially as more messages continue surfacing publicly. That part is important because critics of the company argue that those reminders alone should have been enough for people to stop involving her in work conversations altogether. They believe that once someone says they are on maternity leave or recovering from a medical situation, the expectation should be to give them space instead of continuing production discussions. If none of those comments had ever been made, some people probably would have questioned whether Lorraine only raised these concerns afterward out of frustration. But according to the screenshots and messages she shared, she appeared to repeatedly signal that she needed time away from work because of maternity leave and recovery. That's a huge reason why so many viewers online are paying close attention to the details in these conversations. A lot of people are also saying that if someone tells you they just went through recovery after delivery or are dealing with a medical situation, most would not assume that means they are ready or eager to keep handling production calls, planning discussions, and work requests behind the scenes. Given all that context, many viewers online say they understand why Lorraine claims she feared possible retaliation or damage to her career if she fully stepped away from responsibilities during that protected leave period. At the same time, others still argue that publicly available messages alone may not fully explain what expectations existed internally. Another thing people keep bringing up is that Lorraine was reportedly not just a random employee at the company, which makes the situation feel even more significant to many following the case. She was reportedly working at an executive level within the company. According to her claims, she had previously reported behavior that she believed was inappropriate or unprofessional, and she says things allegedly changed very quickly afterward. Lorraine claims that on the exact same day she received the results from an internal investigation tied to those complaints, she was reassigned from her executive position into a different role. According to comments reportedly made by former Beast employees, that role was allegedly viewed inside the company as a career dead-end position. Because of that, Lorraine's side argues she already felt like she had experienced retaliation once before after raising concerns internally. That background is a major reason why some people online say they understand why she may have worried about possible consequences connected to maternity leave or refusing work-related requests. When people look at the situation through that perspective, it becomes easier to understand why Lorraine is pushing back so strongly against accusations that she is only speaking out for attention or internet clout. From her point of view, she appears to believe there was already a larger pattern happening behind the scenes long before the lawsuit ever became public. At the same time, supporters of MrBeast argue that allegations still need to be fully proven and that public screenshots alone do not automatically confirm every claim being made. I think one thing Lorraine has done pretty effectively throughout this entire situation is show that she clearly understands how the social media world works and how to build something successful online. The way information keeps coming out, the timing of the posts, and the public reactions all show she knows how quickly online conversations can grow and spread. Before joining the MrBeast company, she had reportedly already built an impressive career and established herself professionally in ways most people never manage to accomplish. That's part of why some viewers find this controversy harder to simply brush aside. According to her side, she left behind other opportunities and fully committed herself to working with the MrBeast team, which suggests she took the position seriously and was deeply invested in the company's success. Like I mentioned in the earlier video, there are basically two competing narratives surrounding this entire controversy. On one side, Lorraine argues that she's speaking out because she genuinely experienced workplace problems and feared retaliation if she pushed back internally. On the other side, MrBeast's team has suggested that she may be turning the situation into a public controversy for attention, leverage, or possibly a financial settlement behind the scenes. And right now, the internet seems completely divided on which version of events they believe most. But now that Lorraine has responded with more screenshots, added context, and detailed explanations, some viewers feel her story is starting to line up more closely with the behavior she's been describing from the beginning.
They're alleging that I'm doing all of this for clout and that, as a matter of fact, I gained 1 million followers on Instagram after making the lawsuit public. I gained my first 1 million subscribers on YouTube in 2017 and hit 1 million on Instagram in 2022. I've been a content creator for over 10 years and I've cultivated and built an extremely loyal community without ever needing to use his name. As a matter of fact, the entire 3 years that I worked at MrBeast, I completely stepped away from all of my social media platforms. So I completely stepped away from what took me years to build to show my loyalty and respect for the company that I was working at.
The newer messages and timelines appear to support her claims that she felt pressure to stay involved and worried about possible consequences if she completely stepped away from work responsibilities. Of course, that does not automatically prove every allegation being made, but for many people following the case, it adds more weight to the argument that Lorraine genuinely believed retaliation was possible based on her previous experiences inside the company. Compared to the earlier stages of the controversy, viewers now feel like there's far more context explaining why she says she acted the way she did. Another reason this lawsuit keeps pulling so much attention online is because it no longer feels like a simple dispute between an employee and a company. At this point, the conversation has expanded into much bigger issues involving workplace pressure, company culture, maternity leave expectations, and how power dynamics can operate inside massive creator-led businesses. That's a huge reason why every new screenshot, timeline update, or leaked message instantly sparks another wave of debate across social media platforms. A lot of viewers originally brushed this lawsuit aside when the first headlines dropped, but the non-stop release of screenshots, timelines, and public responses has made the whole conversation way more complicated. Every time new evidence gets posted, both sides immediately break it down from completely different perspectives, and that keeps the debate exploding across social media. Some people still believe the messages weaken Lorraine's case because they show her continuing to participate in projects, answer messages, and stay involved with production work. Others argue the exact opposite, saying the screenshots actually reveal someone who felt obligated to remain available, despite repeatedly mentioning maternity leave and recovery after delivery. And honestly, that's a huge reason this controversy has not faded away like so many other internet scandals usually do. The story keeps evolving, fresh details continue surfacing, and every new response seems to raise even more questions about what may have really been happening behind the scenes at the company during that time period. At this point, the situation has turned into a much bigger discussion online about workplace expectations, boundaries, and pressure inside fast-moving creator businesses. When you put all the extra context together, it becomes easier to understand why public opinion around this situation has started shifting a bit online. Lorraine was reportedly already successful in the social media industry before joining the company, and that background has made some viewers take her claims more seriously. She has also shared receipts showing she was allegedly taking work-related calls while dealing with a medical situation, along with multiple examples where production conversations continued shortly after recovery after delivery. All of that combined has definitely strengthened her side of the story in the eyes of many people online. At the same time, it has also caused more viewers to question why MrBeast's team responded the way they did publicly when the lawsuit first started getting attention. Earlier on, one possible explanation people discussed was that the company genuinely believed Lorraine was exaggerating or misrepresenting what happened during her time there. If that were true, then the aggressive public pushback would make more sense from their perspective. But now that additional screenshots, timelines, and conversations have surfaced, some critics are arguing the original response may not have shown the full picture either. That's where another theory started gaining traction online. The idea that the response may have also been intended to shift public attention and slow the controversy down before it became even bigger across social media. Of course, those are still opinions and interpretations being debated online, not confirmed facts. Basically, some people online feel the company was trying to frame the situation in a way that made Lorraine appear dishonest, malicious, or intentionally deceptive, so the controversy would lose momentum and public sympathy would shift away from her claims. But based on the newer screenshots and conversations people have now seen, critics argue the reality may be far more complicated than the simpler narrative that was originally presented. That still does not automatically prove every accusation being made, of course. But for many viewers, it makes the entire situation feel much more layered and nuanced than they first assumed when the lawsuit initially became public. The conversation online has definitely changed as more context keeps surfacing. Again, if more updates come out in this situation, I'll definitely keep you guys posted because it really sounds like this story is far from over. Lorraine even said near the end of her video that if MrBeast's team releases more receipts or additional public responses, she plans to come back with even more context surrounding those messages and timelines. And honestly, that could make this situation even more intense because both sides are now responding publicly piece by piece instead of keeping everything private behind closed doors. Every new response seems to trigger another massive wave of debate online. As of the time I'm recording this, MrBeast's team has not publicly responded to the latest screenshots or claims Lorraine recently shared, but people online are definitely watching closely to see if that changes. And considering how much attention this lawsuit is getting now, it honestly would not be surprising if even more details continue surfacing over the next few weeks. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this with anyone else following the drama. Also, drop your thoughts down in the comments because I really want to know which side you think is making the stronger case right now. This situation has people seriously divided online. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.